Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Welcome to today's video. Today's video is going to be something new for me. I am going to be attempting to dupe out the Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes Moonlight palette with all of my Natasha Denona Midis. I wanted to keep it Natasha Denona because a lot of us have those palettes already, plus they're easy to pop out and move around. So I wanted to stick with something that people already owned and try to dupe out something new, something that we know is limited edition, that's not going to be around for long. Personally, for me, I really want this palette, so it was more of a personal experiment. So that's what I'll be doing today. You'll be seeing me pick out the shades, kind of hemming and hawing over what goes best, doing an eye look with this palette that I created, and giving my thoughts. So if that sounds good to you, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't yet. I would love it if you stuck around. But with all that, let's just get started. All right, so the Makeup by Mario Moonlight palette. I mean, this palette came out and I instantly loved it. It looked so beautiful. It's very pricey. I want to say it's $68, and Makeup by Mario is hard to come by here in France. So I even went to look at it on the Makeup by Mario website to see how much it would be to ship. It was going to cost me 90 euros with shipping, taxes, plus the palette, and 90 euros, like the euro's higher than the dollar, that's about $100 for a palette. And I had to just tell myself there must be a better way than spending $100 on this palette. Can I dupe it? It's my first attempt at duping. I will just let you know the footage is a little bit rough. I'm learning, but I will fix that in the future, and I do kind of address it in my later thoughts. So yeah, I finally went through and labeled all my Natasha Denona Midis. I've been wanting to do this for a while. I'm going to pull just a palette that I didn't take any shades out. I don't think it's a spoiler. This is the retro palette, but it took me quite some time. It took me like the whole evening to label the backs of these, so that way I would know where the shade belongs if I took it out. And I'm going to attempt to dupe it. So I have my color story here. I don't want to spoil it for you all. I think it turned out really great, but I am just going to send you off to the footage I did yesterday of putting this palette together, and then I'll be doing an eye look with you to just test out my color story and see what I think of my dupeable palette for the Makeup by Mario Moonlight. So with all that, let me send you off to the actual overhead shot of me putting this palette together. All right, so I am a little bit new at duping. We're gonna see how this goes, but I have all my Natasha Denona Midis here, including an empty Z palette, so I can put the shades in. Now, really quickly, I think that we can probably agree the Natasha Denona Love palette, I'm not going to have any shades from that. So I am going to just set this palette aside and we can revisit it if we need to. The retro palette, I also don't think we'll need. Let me put my iPad here that shows the photo of the palette. I do really think we're going to be playing with the Xenon and the I Need a Nude the most, but for retro, I don't think I'll need any of these. So I'm also going to put this one to the side, and these will be the ones we'll primarily play with. We're just going to move a little bit because I want the I Need a Nude kind of like more front and center. And the I Need a Warm can go here because I'm not thinking I'll need too many of the I Need a Warms. So I'm not really sure where to start other than like what jumps out at me, which is the black and then obviously the navy. And for the navy, I don't have too many options. It's gonna have to come from the Xenon palette, and it's going to have to be a matte, which I think only leaves me with Sposh. I think that's the closest I'm going to get. And then for the black, I don't have a black in any of my MIDI palettes because I don't have the My Dream palette, but I don't think that that's a deal breaker. If you have a black someplace else, use that. I really don't use black that often anyways. This is not, Night Sky is not a black either. By the way, it's kind of like a very metallic-y navy, which actually it's kind of close to that navy, but it has more of a sheen. I still think I'm going to go with Sposh, not this one because it has like some shimmer in it. So we'll stick with Sposh, but I think for this, the deepest shade that I have is Lash Line from the Glam palette, and it is like a very dark brown. I also have Silhouette from the I Need a Nude, but you can see it's a little bit warmer and it's definitely more brown. So let me pull out Sposh and Lash Line. All right, so next I'm thinking I want to do the shimmers last, I think. I'm going to work on maybe kind of this row because this is just a plain skin toned, very light skin toned, kind of blending out shade. And I think for that, the closest I probably have is Fair from I Need a Nude. It's just going to be a good bone colored shade. And then for this kind of icy, well, I said I'd do shimmers last, so let's do shimmers last. Kind of go with this top. Zoom in like that. There we go. For these two mattes, because this kind of looks like a black with some shimmer in it as well. For these two, I kind of think, let's see, Mesh kind of has like that coolness to it. And then Stone is darker than Mesh. Not Tender. No, I think Tender's too dark. I think we're going to use Fair for this first one, Mesh for the third, and then Tender for Stone for the fifth. All right, let me pull those out. Making progress. The other mattes that I have, so this one, I still need this brown here and this kind of gray. I think this shade is between maybe Tender and Snert and Xenon. So here's Tender and here's Snert, but I think this is like too blue tone. I think Tender is going to be the best. It's not perfect. It still has like an element of brown in it, but I do think that's going to be my best option. And then for this brown, we have a few options. We have Smoke, or we have Log from Golden. It's an interesting formula. It's kind of like a satin. Or we have like Pep from I Need a Warm. I think I like Smoke the best for that shade. Okay, so we're gonna pull Tender in for this matte and Smoke in for this one, and then we'll just have some shimmers left. So the shimmer is the funnest part. And I think if we look at these four shimmers here, they're supposed to be more like toppers. So you kind of have like a white topper here, a more pink peachy topper here, a more cool tone gold, and then more of like a taupe gold. And then this one's the only one like, I can't tell what that is. I don't know. Let's look on the other skin tones. It kind of looks like a black with silver flakes. Yeah, like a gunmetal. Okay, so I think this gives us the undertone more too. Okay, so I think for this, we're gonna go to Xenon, and it's gonna have to be Cygnus, right? I mean, that's gonna be the closest to that for sure. So there's the first one. And then, yeah, we have like a taupey, right? Like gold. Then we have more of like a bronze gold and a cool tone gold. What's this one look like? Dynamism? No, too metallic. Homey? Too metallic. Snug? Too metallic. Okay, I'm gonna put I need a nude. I need a warm to the side because that's none of those shimmers are doing it. I guess let's focus one at a time. Let's focus on this like icy kind of white silver since we found this one. And we have Stellar from Xenon, Ream. So Stellar, Ream. And then we have, what is this, Aura from Golden. Okay, that has like a yellow flip to it. It's definitely not that one. I would say that in the swatch, it looks more like Ream, like this very metallic, icy shimmer, but in here, it looks more like Stellar. I think I'm gonna go with Stellar only because I like that shade more and as a topper. So since this is kind of for me anyways, we'll go with Stellar. So Cygnus and Stellar. And let me just pull those out before I forget. And then the top row will be done. All right. Then we just need the last three. So we need more of a peachy shimmer. So we have Muse, Sheen. I'm gonna swatch these. Muse, Sheen. And then we even have like Kava in the golden. And that's very gold, but much more toppery. Although I'm leaning towards Sheen. Has like more of that peachy element. I think Sheen matches it more. And then this one here, the one next to it, we have Delilah, Filigree, definitely not Filigree. Outer eye corner, no, not a topper. Skift, that's pretty. But I think that we're gonna go with Filigree. That's this one, right? No. Which one was that? Sheen? Delilah? I'm already forgetting what I swatched. Okay, Delilah. Delilah for this shade. And then I'm losing my mind. Sheen. Okay, Sheen and Delilah. Okay, we're using mostly I Need a Nude. Let me add those in because I'm going to forget. The very last shimmer. It's like a cool tone gold-ish. Right? And I think, what are we left with? I don't think we need golden. I think I can put that one back, but I gotta move it for the mirror, or I can put it like that. There we go. Okay, so let's try Skift. That might be the winner because we also have Muse, and that's just too metallic. I have sparkle all over me. And Glam, I think, is just going to be too metallic as well. Yeah, I think that it's Skift. Is that what you say? Let's pull that one in and see what it looks like. I'm pretty happy with that. The only ones that kind of look off to me without swatching it are maybe like this one could have a little bit more gray, and then this obviously could be a black. Let me swatch out this color story and we'll compare it. And here is the palette all swatched out. Let me zoom in for you here. I'm pretty impressed with myself, I have to say. I think that it's really, really close. Obviously not the black. We've already talked about this. I'm not going to dwell on it. But even this shade here that I thought was going to be the most off, in the swatch looks pretty spot on. I'm very happy with this. So overall, like just to summarize, I didn't use anything from the Golden, anything from the I Need a Warm, anything from the Retro, and anything from the Love. I only used shades from the Xenon, the Glam, which in this I only used these two shades, so you could easily sub out. You don't need the Glam. If you have like a neutral brown and then you have a black shadow, that's pretty easy. And I used 6 shades from I Need a Nude. So if you have that palette, which a lot of people do, I would probably guess it's one of her more better selling ones, then you have a lot of this palette. And if you got Xenon, you practically have this palette minus the brown and the black. So I'm gonna say this is easily dupable. Even then, like you could take out this shade here that I used for that kind of brown. This one, you could sub it for silhouette if you really needed to, like if you didn't care about it being spot on. But now that we've done the swatches, now that I've duped out this palette, let's pan over and I'm gonna do an eye look and see what I think of it on the eyes. So it's actually the next day. I wanted to just look at the footage, make sure it was passable. Definitely some improvements need to be made, but I do think it's at least passable for now. And I also wanted to just sit on my color story and be happy with this palette. And I'm happy to say that I am still very pleased with what I was able to come up with as far as duping the Makeup by Mario palette. So I think we just need to create an eye look and see what I think of the palette as a whole now. Obviously, I know this formula. I love this formula, but putting this color story together, I want to see what I think of it. Now, knowing the footage, looking back on it, I could see that it was a little cut off at the bottom. I didn't raise it or lower it enough. So I am going to just insert in some swatches in better lighting right over my face here so you can get a better look at the swatches of this palette. And then we're going to come up with an eye look. I think it's only fair that we use the blue, right? I mean, that is the standout in the palette, so it would be a disservice to not use it. And do I want to like attempt to make it like a smoky eye? I'm kind of thinking I want to like put this down as a base. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to linger too long on this eye look because I know the bulk of this video is the duping of the palette, but I did at least want to also just give my thoughts on if I even liked the color story, if I was going to pick it up. So I'm going to lay this blue down as a base, I think. I don't have anything on my eye as far as eye primer. I do have my foundation, and then I set that with like my all over face setting powder. So I guess that is something. But we're just going to put this all over my lid. And then I'm going to take a clean blending brush and just kind of diffuse that up. Sorry you can hear my dogs. It is what it is. I have given up after the past couple of years trying to control them because there's 6. I only have 1 dog, but my mom has 5. And right now, for the time being, I'm at my mom's. and they take their farm guarding duties very seriously. So I kind of just wanted to diffuse this a little bit before going into a blending out shade. And I think I'm going to stick with this one. This is Fair from the I Need a Nude. I will have all the shades listed down below in my description box in case you want to dupe this yourself if you have the palettes. But I kind of just want to blend it out further, and I'm not too concerned because I'm going to cover this up with a shimmer. So this is just to really get that blue to pop. Make sure it's not too high up there. It's blending out nice. All right. Now, the real question is, what shimmer do I want to do? I kind of want to go in with this one. I don't remember the names off the top of my head, so that's why I'm going to list it. Let's just go in. Well, do I want to go in with this one? Because this one's more opaque. I kind of want like a sheer situation. Yes. Okay, I'm going to go in with this one here, because that is more like a sheer topper. Oh, I didn't do that. And just go over the whole thing, see where we land. And the thing is, like, I've been thinking a lot about this palette, right? Like, I have been agonizing myself on if I want to spend $68 to pick this up. And I've kind of concluded, like, I don't know how much I would even use the blue. And that's, like I said, that's the standout in the palette. That's why I wanted to use it today. So is it even worth picking up? Because I would mostly stick to all these tones other than the blue. And I have the I Need a Nude. I don't know. I'm kind of talking out loud here. I'm going to take this brown shade and the same brush I used to blend out, and I'm going to deepen up the outer crease. Just add and shape my eye a little bit more like how I like, but just trying to lift this corner hood a little bit. And I just love brown. A different clean blending brush to just diffuse the edges a little bit more. I'm not one to do crazy intricate looks here, so I might just kind of really leave it at this, but maybe to just test out the palette more, I'll use this silver here as an inner corner. I know this is Stellar from the Xenon. Add a little bit of that. Just like some white icy sparkle. I like that a lot. That would have been pretty all over the lid as well. And then we just have the lower lash line. I don't know how much blue I want to pull in. I think I'm going to take like a very small flat liner brush, go into that blue, and really just put that as close to the lash line as I can without poking myself. Now the nice thing is this blue is a creamy matte, and it's not, you saw when I swatched it, like it wasn't as pigmented off the bat as the Makeup by Mario seemed. So if you're a little bit scared of blue like I am, that might be a good option. But I wanted to really tight line, and then I'm gonna take this shade here and like a pointy brush, see how that has a point, and kind of blend it out. But trying to not smoke it out so much. Okay, maybe a little bruisey. Is it looking a little bruisey? Maybe that's me and my skill. I'm gonna go back in with Fair, the lightest one in the palette. That might have been a better choice. Maybe that last shade was just a little too contoury, was making my eyes look sunken and sallow. kind of clean up that outer corner. I mean, it's definitely smoky. I think it's gonna look better with mascara. I don't think I'm gonna do liner. I think I'm gonna let the lid speak for itself. So I'm gonna do the other eye off camera, brush my hair maybe, and I'll come back to give you my final thoughts. Here's the final look. I am actually like really pleased with how this turned out. I very much like it. I said I was gonna do final thoughts, but this is not a palette review. This is a palette that I created. Overall, just to summarize, I am very happy that I did this. I went into this video thinking, okay, I'll try and dupe this palette. Maybe I'll get close, but I might still pick up the Makeup by Mario. Like, let's be honest. All those feelings are out the window. I do not feel the need to pick up that palette. So this experience worked for me and I'm very happy overall. I'd love to know what you think. Like, do you think that I got close to duping it now that you saw like proper swatches a little while ago? And were you as torn about this palette as I was? What really was getting me is just that I know it's limited edition. I know it's going to sell out fast. And so I felt this pressure to make a decision very quickly. And that's what was really just tearing me up inside, keeping me awake. And all those thoughts and feelings are really just out the window. I don't feel like I need that palette anymore. And yeah, I think I'm gonna just keep this in this little palette for a while, play with it, get my use out of it. But I know that this palette, if I ended up buying the real Makeup by Mario palette, I'd use it a couple times, do a video, and stick it in my drawer and forget about it. Just knowing that this has, how many shades did I pull from the Xenon? I think 1, 2, 3 shades from the Xenon. You know, I haven't used that palette since I reviewed it. So I know that it's not a palette I reach for all the time. The I Need a Nude, I love that palette. I definitely get my most use out of that palette. And that has, you know, 6 shades in here out of the 12. And then the other 2 from the Glam palette, like I don't even think are necessary to get from the Glam palette. I talked about that before when I was duping it. You could easily get some other shades to replace this in different palettes. Like I don't think it was necessary. So I duped it with basically 2 palettes and I'm very happy with that. I would love to know if I'm just having an epiphany, if this is something that everyone already knew and I'm just coming around to it, probably a little bit. A little bit of laziness, I think. It takes some time to like sit down and actually buckle down and look at your shades and try and create something. Like you need time to do that. Fully am aware of that. But is this something you want to continue to see going forward? Because I had a lot of fun doing it. I really think if I do, I would stick with my Natasha Denona Midis because I love that Natasha Denona makes the palettes so versatile where you can pop them out, move them around. I think a lot of people own a lot of Natasha Denona palettes and I would want it to be something that people could purchase if they want to and see the use of Natasha Denona palettes. Like I don't want to pull things from my collection that maybe are discontinued, people don't have, they can't buy them, even though the price is comparable, right? Like a midi Natasha Denona is $69 and that palette specifically in this example is $68. That, you know, they're about the same, but there's so much more you can do with Natasha Denona. I think it would be really good to like niche the Natasha Denona Midi palettes, if I'm making sense. I feel like I'm kind of just rambling at this point. Anyways, I had a lot of fun doing this video. I would love to hear your thoughts down below on everything, but this is where I'm going to leave you all. I hope you're having a great one and I will see you in my next video. Bye everyone.